Good morning. I'm Carla Mark-Thompson. I'm 22, a student from Goldsmiths University, and I have suffered from body dysmorphic disorder since the age of 13. My battle with BDD was a consistent burden in my life, and it really began to drain me. I longed for the day that I could just feel normal and stop being so preoccupied with my appearance. Giving this speech today means a lot to me because I want to let BDD sufferers know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but in my experience, the light will only be in sight if you're willing to walk out of the darkness and towards it. I had a privileged childhood as my parents always tried their best for me. However, the breakdown of their relationship, which resulted in my dad leaving when I was 7, really affected me. I feel that this is when a sense of insecurity and inadequacy began to slowly develop. At the age of 13, I was not aware of BDD. I remember beginning to feel really self-conscious at school and began feeling anxious about my teeth and my face. I would even walk around the playground trying to hide my face with my hands. I also started to thoroughly analyze my annual school photos and began to dread the day that I got to see what they looked like. And when I did get them back, I would rip them up and try to forget about them. This was because I couldn't believe that the photo was actually of me. In my mind, I looked horrific. I would also compare myself to other girls and wish I looked like them, and always wished and prayed to God that I could just be normal and just be comfortable with who I was. Things gradually got worse, and at the age of 14, I remember an incident where a boy at school was going through all the names of the girls he thought was pretty, and then he casually told me I wasn't, which really made me feel even more self-conscious. I started to do extraneous exercise to lose weight, as I had a new preoccupation with my face being too fat and too round. At the age of 15, I started dieting and counting calories that I would eat. At this time, I also entered an emotionally abusive relationship, which lasted 3 years. I was experiencing feelings of disgust, and my reflection was becoming unbearable to the point that I felt guilty for eating food, and I suffered from bulimia for a period of time. With everything that I did in the back of my mind, I always worried about my appearance. My main issue was that I genuinely believed that my face was really fat and manly, even when I lost a worrying amount of weight. On the bad days, I would cry, feel depressed, and at times have suicidal thoughts. This often led me to stay in bed all day and hide away. I can even remember pretending to be sick so that I didn't have to go to school because of how I felt. Over the years, I had a lot of safety behaviors. The major one was avoiding mirrors when I was in public spaces. It was so bad that I would only check my reflection in the toilet cubicles where the shiny metal toilet flusher was. At home, I had a special mirror in the bathroom that I would do my hair and my makeup in because I believed all the other mirrors in the house made me look ugly and highlighted all my imperfections. I also couldn't look in the mirror when anyone else was around with the fear that they would negatively be judging me. I would also regularly wear really dark clothes to avoid attracting any attention on the days that I felt really down. I would always get anxiety over having to have my photo taken due to the fear of the photo looking bad, so photos were something I avoided. Any pictures that I did have of myself, I always had to ask my cousin for reassurance before I uploaded it onto WhatsApp. I also remembered crying my eyes out on the first day of uni because I believed I looked fat and ugly in my picture on my ID card, and I dwelled on the photo so much that it ruined my whole day. I had bad posture and I always looked down when I was walking in public. I would avoid eye contact with people and feel anxious in crowded places because I believed everyone was staring at me and thinking I was ugly. I would not leave the house unless I felt I looked okay. I would keep checking in the mirror before I would leave and sometimes have to redo my hair or my makeup, even though there was probably nothing wrong with it. It was frustrating and often made me late. I had been to the doctors who at first were not helpful, and the doctors said my emotions were natural and due to my monthly cycle. I felt like no one understood what I was going through, and I started to feel embarrassed as though it was me just being extremely vain, and was actually once referred to as narcissistic, which was quite hurtful. It got to the point that I was completely broken as a person. I had read self-help books, tried affirmations, Googled techniques, but I had hit a brick wall and really needed professional help. I had just gotten so fed up with letting BDD take over my life that I had to go to the doctors again and express my severity of my suffering. Medication was not offered to me. However, I went through cognitive behavioral therapy, which was a really scary process because I felt that if that didn't work, I would probably suffer forever. I had to confront my fears and gradually stop my safety behaviors to break the vicious cycle of BDD. This was difficult, but over time it became less daunting. I realized my appearance was not the problem because despite having my teeth cosmetically fixed and losing an extremely large amount of weight, I was still never satisfied, and I just started to focus on something else about my appearance. I learned that BDD will always be with me, but I have a choice to let it take over me or keep fighting against it. I have days that I have bad thoughts that may pop into my mind, and I have days that I don't feel that great, but I don't let it beat me up. I don't beat myself up about it anymore. It no longer rules my life. I now have the strength to say no to these thoughts and emotions before they become unruly. The most important thing that I learned was that I needed to continue to step outside of my comfort zone in order to get stronger. I began doing all the things I was scared of or worried about. And for example, I had paid for professional photos to be taken. Although I cried and felt really anxious, I needed to do it in order to get better. And I realized that it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. My biggest achievement in regards to my recovery would be taking part in Miss Caribbean UK beauty pageant last November. With all my doubts and my fears of not being good enough, I realized that if I wanted to get stronger, I needed to throw myself in the deep end by doing something I never thought I would be able to do. I also wanted to show other women that anything is possible and a negative self-image can be changed and be used to empower other people. Although I didn't win, it was still an amazing experience. In order to overcome BDD from my perspective, you should think of it as a battle that you are determined to try and win. Ultimately, please don't be ashamed of how you feel. You are not alone. Do not be afraid to seek professional help. For me, prayer and faith can help ease negative emotions and negative thoughts. Setting small goals to try and break down safety behaviors is also something great to do, and surround yourself with positive people. Yes, it can seem like a scary and uncomfortable thing to do, and it doesn't happen overnight. But the more you confront your fears and break down your safety behaviors, is the closer you will get to recovering and being happier. I'm thankful for doing this speech because although I have spoken about my very personal experiences, I'm happy to say that this is who I used to be. It is heartbreaking to know that so many people probably suffer in silence, and I believe that the more that we talk about BDD is the more potentially that we allow other sufferers to know that they are not alone and that there is support out there for them. Thank you.